Hey, what's up guys? John, and our food supply is grinding to a halt in a scary way. I think food prices are going to go between 2 and 300% from where they are right now. I think a gallon of milk would be 15 bucks in the next year. I think things are going to get very, very scary. We're already seeing right now when we go to the grocery store, things are just a little bit more expensive than they were the time before. We're seeing 24 facilities. They were either caught on fire or planes were crashing into them here in America, and we're seeing the transportation and distribution of this food grinding to a halt. It's pretty concerning, and it's concerning in a big way because a lot of people don't know about what's really happening, and that's the main fear, that's the main concern. It's that we're all sitting here looking at this data, looking at this information, and realizing the cold hard truth that we need to rethink about money, we need to rethink about our lives. When food prices get out of control and everything's going to get out of control, it's no longer thinking in the realm of making $100,000 a year. It's thinking huge, simply because everything is going to get so damn expensive that you need the margin, you need that grace period so that you can afford to spend the extra money, because that's what's ultimately going to happen. Like with all economies, who can spend the most wins. Food prices continue rising, people are just going to pull out their credit card and keep swiping regardless of the cost. So people that have money are going to be able to really bridge that gap. They're going to be able to just stay in the game longer and pay more and more and more, because what other choice do we have? This is what's happening. Look at this right here. A fertilizer company complains about railroad shipment limits. A major fertilizer company said that limits Union Pacific is putting on rail traffic to clear up congestion will delay shipments that farmers need during the spring planting season. CF Industries said Thursday that the railroad ordered it to cut its shipments by nearly 20%. Union Pacific has said it is limiting rail traffic and hiring aggressively as part of a plan to improve service after grain and ethanol shippers complained about shortcomings. Federal regulators have announced plans to hold a hearing later this month about the service problems along Union Pacific and other major U.S. railroads that have forced some grain mills and ethanol plants to curtail production while waiting on trains, and have left farmers without a place to sell their crops because grain elevators are having trouble shipping grain. The timing of this action by Union Pacific could not come at a worse time for farmers, said CF Industries' Tony Will. Not only will fertilizers be delayed by these shipping restrictions, but additional fertilizer needed to complete spring applications may be unable to reach farmers at all. We're having some of these big distributors, these big railways, stopping and limiting how much food can actually be sent to the grocery store, sent to us. And then we're looking at what NBC just came out and said, CBS, excuse me. Sorry, shoppers, food prices are likely to keep rising. Here's why. When you look at this and you listen to what they're saying, you can just see how questionable this narrative is. Industry data showing that Americans are spending more on food than before the pandemic, and in the sign of the times that is driving up food prices amid the sharpest bout in inflation in the U.S. in nearly 40 years. Customer demand continues to outpace our ability to supply products. Tyson Foods CEO Donnie King told a quarterly earnings call in February Tyson's average sale price for a quarter rose nearly 20% compared to a year before, helping the meat company recoup higher costs, including for labor and transportation. Americans are paying 10% more for food they buy at the grocery store than a year ago, with beef prices rising 16%, factoring in both grocery store and restaurant purchases. Food prices in March were nearly 9% from a year ago, surging demand over the last year, according to the BofA securities analyst. So Americans are eating more than they did in the past. And that is why we have constrained retail inventories. It's not because gas prices are through the roof. It's not because of all the mess that we've seen over the past, couple of years. It has nothing to do with that. It's because we're eating too much. We need to stop eating so much. And because of this, we are the ones that are increasing the prices on ourselves. This is pretty wild to me because it says food shortages have been exacerbated by a string of fires, plane crashes, and explosions of nearly 24 food processing facilities across Canada and America. 24. Now, I'm not saying, problems don't happen. I'm sure there's a couple problems at facilities from time to time. But 24 facilities inside of a short and narrow window when we have transportation problems, and gasoline prices are getting higher, and we're closing down oil, and we're closing down natural resources and things in America, we have to ask ourselves, looking at this as honest entrepreneurs. I think, a saying that someone told me years ago is smart people see things for how they are, and other people see things for how they want them to be. How things are, it's questionable. Like, listen to this. The most that happened on Thursday in Georgia when a small plane crashed shortly after takeoff into General Mills plant just east of Atlanta. 2 occupants in the plane passed away, right? We scroll down here and it says that same day an airplane crashed into Idaho's. Now the other one was Atlanta. Now this is Idaho's Gem State Processing Facility, a plant said to process 18,000 acres worth of potatoes each year. The pilot of the plane did not survive, however, no employees were injured. And then last Thursday, firefighters contained with a massive blaze at Taylor Farms packaged salad plant in Salinas, California, a key agricultural region 177 kilometers south of San Fran. The fire broke out late Wednesday, April 13th. About 2 weeks ago, firefighters from several departments in Maine helped battle a massive fire that's destroyed East Conway beef and pork butcher shop and meat market and Center Conway. Investigators did not indicate what caused the fire. In March, a major fire that forced the closure of Nestle's plant in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The plant makes frozen foods and particularly Hot Pockets. Frozen food plant announced a $100 million expansion plan last year. And it just continues to go on and on and on for 17 other cases. There's total about 23. 23 either fires or explosions or planes crashing into them. So we just look at all this, and it's not me, overthinking things. I think it's just the reality. We really have to ask ourselves, how expensive are things going to really get? Things aren't going to get to, remember when they said, inflation is just transitory. It's just transitory. Now no one talks about inflation being transitory. Now it's just going to continue going up, 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 up. On this channel, I talk about exclusively business, personal finance, money. Nothing's more important than food. Food, shelter, family. But, we really have to look at money differently. We have to look at our lives differently. There's no victim mentality. This comes straight from, it's going to be a survival of the fittest going forward. And so, we can't feel sorry for ourselves or sorry for the situation. It's what are we going to do? What's the best plan? I personally think food prices are going to continue going up in a big way over the next 6 months to a year. I think if you have a couple grand, if you have some money saved up, you're probably better off just buying the things you're definitely going to need, stock up on the things that you need, hold it because it's probably going to be one of the best investments because long term, you're likely going to be paying more for that same product. And so the question I have for you is how expensive are things going to get? How bad is things going to get in the next year? How bad are things going to get? And what are you doing to prepare for it? I know what I'm doing. I'm hustling, I'm working, I'm grinding, and I'm building out a real solid plan so that I have options. Because at the end of the day, the harder things get, the more options you have, the better off you are. What do you think? Drop your comments below. Smash the like button. Subscribe here. Consider subbing to my second channel. My second YouTube channel is going to be a podcast starting May 4th. Also on TikTok and Instagram. Catch you guys later.